Welcome to Behind the Scenes, the podcast, where we pull back the curtain on the entertainment industry, from video production and content creation to the people who bring it all to life. I'm Vince G. at SwoleNerd Productions. Whether you're a filmmaker, creator, business owner, or just love seeing how great productions come together, you're in the right place. Joining me behind the scenes today is Roger DeLeon. Thanks for being here.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. It's been a long week coming since we talked about it, and then the whole Facebook Marketplace. So I really appreciate you having me and welcoming me into your space.
Man, I feel like we're best friends now. Like, we met one day and already did each other's podcasts and everything. But man,
no, for sure, right? And I think it just is a testament to what you can do when you put networking in the right spaces, right? Because all this came from Facebook Marketplace, and now we take the time to kind of learn each other's interests and things that we share and whatnot, and actually just talk instead of just being like, all right, thank you for the lens.
Exactly. I know we've already touched on this on your show and then a little bit on my networking video. It's just, you never know where something can go from just talking to someone. I could have easily, like what you said, just gave you the lens and then we parted ways. But now it's like, I feel like you're a cool dude. No,
seriously, same to you and your wife, right? Because you guys, are very knowledgeable, and then I got to learn about what y'all guys had going on, and kind of like you're climbing through the ranks, so to speak, with social media and Facebook and YouTube and all that good stuff, right? So, knowing that, aside from your personality, you're a real cool dude, man.
Oh, you're making me blush. Man, so for those who don't know about you, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I mean, to sum it up, right? I'm a kid of a single mother household. We can fast forward we can dive through all that stuff, but I guess within the last 2 to 3 years, I've really been into podcasting, right? I've been working a corporate job for the last 10 years. Within the last 2.5, almost 3, I've kind of wanted to look for something else to do, because when you buy a house at 24, growing up in a Hispanic household, that's always a goal. Comprate una casa, right? And I did that. And I'm not bragging or anything, but I did that at 24. So I felt like the pinnacle of what I was supposed to do as an adult. I did it pretty early. So it's kind of like, okay, well, what's next?
Yeah.
So, I spent some time. Me and my girl are together for X amount of years at this point. I have my daughter with me. And now I'm just like, okay, what's next? What's the next opportunity for me? I need something else to do, because if not, then I'm one of those people that I can't stay complacent for too long. And if I do, I either have to be able to detach from the situation to make it through it, or I have to find something else new. And then for me, that's kind of how I started podcasting. But I've always had a videographer's creative's perspective's eye, right? Because like I told you on my show, it came from having those cheap little Metro PCS phones, going to the park with my homeboys and flipping the phone upside down on some dirt, taking a picture of it and be like, oh my God, that looks cool. Fast forward a few years later, getting my hands on my first camera, doing a lot of photography, figuring out what I like, whether it was portraits, whether it was something creative, whether it's landscapes, and just kind of playing around with it, man. That was the first time I had a quality camera, despite it was the $400 Amazon T3 or whatever. So, that's kind of how I navigated into the creative space, right? And yeah, fast forward 2023, that's when I started podcasting, and it all started with my homeboy that I had at the time. I mean, we're still cool, but we started it together because I was like, yo, bro, I want to start podcasting, but I need somebody to kind of bounce it off of, for a little bit. And I know you're a good talker and you're very opinionated. What do you think about this? So we had that conversation. He was down, but he was also having a conversation with a friend of his, but they didn't really have a space or any direction. They were like, yeah, bro, we should start podcasting. I was like, okay, bring him along. Let's see what we can do, So I started configuring this space because I had already kind of set up, right? I already had some wall art, bar table, 2 bar chairs, mics. It was kind of like a cute little kitchen setup inside that room.
Yeah.
And needless to say, we were like, okay, if we're going to make this happen, we got to switch some things around. So we started investing in the furniture, maybe actually getting some more mics in, because at first it was just a little clip on Amazon mics. And then, but you know how it goes, right? When it comes to creating content, you always have to keep spending money to get higher quality products, and everyone's like, oh, you don't have to spend that much money to get podcasting. Because you see all those videos on YouTube where it's like, oh, how to get started in podcasting for free. I was like, if you want a shitty podcast, but for me, it was always about quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna do it right, well, if you're gonna do something, you got to do it right. And if you don't do it right, then why do it at all? You know?
Yep. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. But that's just kind of how like the genesis of it started, right? Because it started with 3 of us, and then the other dude hung around for maybe 3 episodes, and then it just took off from there.
Okay. So let me back up really, really far to your very first camera. You said the T3i. But what made you decide to get the T3i at the time?
I don't know. It wasn't even me that bought it. I asked for it for a graduation gift. I was just like, I looked at the value that the kit had on like whenever, you shop online and you see that the kit comes with like 2 lenses, and then you get like some just little things that in like an extra SD card. Then you get the charger, an extra battery. And I was like, well, all this for like $500. I was like, man, if I get anything for a graduation gift for high school, let me just get that.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like everyone starts with the T3i, T4i. One dude started with the T5i. How old are you again?
I'm 29.
Okay. Yeah, so like our age range is kind of like all within the same camera group is what it seems like. Unless you get a Sony, but who wants a Sony? As I have 3 of them.
Right?
But yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think, right, with cameras nowadays. It's because, you either grow up a Nikon guy, Nikon Coolpix kind of guy, or then you hop into the Canon lineup. Mm-hmm. But at the time, Sony wasn't really pushing out cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it was the A7 III that like really started, or the A7 probably, the one that just like everyone was talking about the autofocus and all that. Maybe that was 2016, somewhere around there. But yeah.
Yeah. And I know for me, like, whenever it came down to figuring out what kind of cameras I wanted to use, the reason why I ended up going, like, after, like, I want to go back into the beginning of the podcasting, right? Mm-hmm. Because that started with iPhones, right? Mm-hmm. And the quality for what it was cool. It's no camera, but it was really good for what it was.
Yeah.
But the reason I ended up going Sony over Canon when it came to upgrading into getting actual cameras was because of that whole 30-minute recording period that you get with Canons.
I forgot about that. So I'm going to tell you a quick story real quick. When I first bought the ATEM Extreme, right? Because I was doing all these live events at the time. And I connected the T4i into the ATEM, and it was cropped. It was the worst thing ever. So every single like instance of that, I had to manually go and stretch it out. Otherwise, you'd see like that little it was like this big. It was terrible. But yeah, that was my experience with that one.
No, for sure. And it's funny, right? Because when I got so fast forward a few years later, I ended up getting my hands on a T5i, and I got it because of the foldable screen or whatnot. And then when I tried to implement it into the podcast at its genesis, I realized 2 things. This shit doesn't shoot 1080. This shit only shoots in 1080. Mm-hmm. And then you have to manually go in every time to get rid of like the screen information, because if not, it'll shoot into your screen.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Dang. Oh, you mean the clean? Okay, yeah. So you needed the clean feed. Yeah.
You couldn't get the clean feed with that.
Okay, man, it's been forever since I had a Canon. I don't want to go back, but that new one, I think it's the C50. Have you seen that one? Mm-mm. Oh, it's so nice. Like, I love Canon colors. That's the reason I shoot with Blackmagic, because they share similar color profile. But I shoot with Blackmagic in here, but on the field I'm doing like Sony's. It's just ease of use. But yeah, I love the Canon profile.
No, for sure. I think one of the things about cameras nowadays is because I'm seeing everybody talking about that new Nikon camera that came out. And everyone was like, "Oh yeah, this is a Sony killer." Like,
I'm mixed on it.
Yeah,
yeah. A friend of mine, he has it. I love the screen. You can see everything, but I hate that you don't have 2 SD slots. You only have one main one and one micro, like the micro, little tiny one. Mm-hmm. And then I believe, I could be wrong, but it's not a full HDMI. So that's a big no for me. If it's a mini, but if it's a micro HDMI, that's even worse. That's like the worst HDMI around.
Why is that?
They break easily.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they always break. I couldn't tell you how many of those I had to go through when I had this one monitor, just constantly breaking.
Are you talking about the wire itself or the actual input in the camera?
Well, the little input, the little tiny thing.
Okay, so let me ask you this. what do you do to fix those just in case that ever happens to me? Because V's that I shoot on, they got the little mini ones. Yeah, I got to be very delicate.
Yeah,
and I told you about having to buy. I need to buy like separate, so like small rig cages to get the attachment on there and make it a little bit more durable. But I'm just like, nah.
If it were me and I'm a little extra, get you an adapter, full HDMI to micro HDMI or mini HDMI, whatever it is, and then just tape it. That way it can't come loose. It's gonna look ugly, but at least it won't break. And I think they make fairly small adapters.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. But yeah.
So let me ask you this: what was your first paid project? Do you remember?
My first paid project. To be honest with you, yeah, I do actually. Actually, yeah, it was with that Canon that I told you about, the T3i. My mom used to tell her friends, "Oh yeah, my son's a photographer. My son's a photographer." I'm 18. I don't know if any fucking better. I'm learning, right, how to shoot in manual, because everyone's like, "Oh, you got to shoot in manual. You're not a real photographer. You don't shoot in manual."
Yeah, I still don't shoot in manual.
So I'm learning and I'm figuring it out. And then my mom's friend hits me up, and then she's like, "Hey, are you interested in taking photos of my kids for the bautizo?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" You know, we can get some stuff going, you know. And granted, I mean, they weren't really trying to spend a lot of money, but then again, you know, it's your first paid gig. You're just happy to get paid something for it.
But what'd you get paid?
I think it was maybe like $150.
Okay, you did
like
better than me.
Hour. Yeah, for like an hour or so, or maybe two. We went to the Fort Worth Botanical Gardens. No. It was the Dallas Arboretum, because we lived in Dallas at the time. So it was the Dallas Arboretum. We went, we kind of just walked around. And then, you know, it's weird, right? Because, you know, at that first time you expect a person to know where they want to shoot, but they're just as clueless as you are. So you have to take the lead. And you're going to have to be like, maybe we should shoot here. Maybe we should shoot here. What do you think over here? Oh, no. And then they're like, oh, go right here where the sun's at. I was like, no. Like, we can wait for, if you want to get right here, we can wait for the clouds to kind of go over. You know, harsh lighting, soft lighting, the whole just, right? Shadows and all that. But I think one thing I gravitated towards when it came to photography was having really bright colors, right? Because there's this photographer who does a lot of women's modeling, but the way he plays with his lighting, I think I forgot his name is Jake something. Jake Hicks. His name is Jake Hicks. His work is freaking crazy. And then I started, you know, going from there. I was like, man, I really just want these colors to pop and like really give it a distinct look.
Oversaturated like crazy. I think we all make that mistake as a beginner.
Yeah, for sure, right? But I mean, needless to say, like, I knew where I wanted it, and then I was like, oh, let me take this down 5 notches. So regardless, you know, I gave him the photos. I gave him a plethora of photos after me going on like not Photoshop, but Lightroom, adjusting, straightening them out, cropping them a little bit. No, they were happy, bro. I was like, okay, great, this is cool.
See, I don't consider myself a photographer at all. I will take photos, but I am video all day, like all day, every day. So for us to take some photos, I want to see like how you feel about this. I take all the photos, and I just give them to the people. Like, here's your raws, do whatever you want with them. Like, I will edit 5, maybe 10 of them, but the rest you can just have. A lot of photographers, they will not give away the raws at all. But I feel that way about video. I will keep my raw and charge them for the raws versus photography. How did you do it back then?
See, so back then, obviously, I'm not going to give them the raw because they're not going to be able to know what to do with the raw anyways. If anything, I was going to say, like, you know, hey, I'm going to give you like 10 to 15 good quality pictures. It was 2 kids. So I'm like, let me split up some are like together, some are them separate. And, you know, it was just that, right? But I totally, you know, like looking at it, I'm like, I totally agree with the whole, if you want the raw. But the thing is, a lot of the times people don't know what to do with the raws anyways, right? They're not paying for the raws unless they just know what they want to do with it. And maybe they're like, okay, well, I'm going to just send it to another guy to color grade it. And I'm like, okay, cool. But at the time, like, nobody really knew what to do with it. You know, it's just like, and depending on what phone you had, you couldn't even access that file. Because, I mean, that was what, roughly 15 years ago or so. So like 10 to 15 years ago, and back then, I mean, we don't have iPhone 17 Pros. We don't have Galaxies 31s or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's still like with the smaller phones. Sometimes you put it in Google Drive. Oh, it's not available. You can't see it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, back then, it was not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It was just like the RAWs took up a lot of space for me, but I kept them for a while, but I didn't really do anything else with them, honestly. But as far as charging people for them, if they know what they're doing, yeah. But if they don't, then no. But when it comes to videography work, that's a little different, right? Because I feel like as a videographer, your job is to deliver the final product. And that's what they're paying you for, unless they're just a point and shoot kind of guy, and that's what they want. But at that case, it's like, do you pay me for just pointing and shooting and giving you raw footage, or do you pay me because you want me to edit it as well? Because a lot of times there's this big conception that like, oh, I have an editor. I'm gonna send it off to my editor. I'm just a film guy. I send it off to the editor. When 9 times out of 10, we're all just editing our own stuff anyways.
Yeah. Okay, so you started as a photographer. When did you move into video exactly? Was it with the podcast?
You know what? Yeah. Honestly, yeah, dude, because for a long time, right, after the whole photography shtick kind of like fizzled out of me, it was more so like, okay, no, now I got to get into the real world because, I love landscapes. Say what you want. I love landscape photography. Whether it's an outside cloud shot, trees, over a lake, over something, something cool like that. Because when I started, it was really just me living in Louisville, and all I had access to was this lake, and then other stuff around. So you can see. But I want to answer your question, right? But the whole photography thing, what kickstarted that? But then as adults, right, you start to figure out, man, should I keep doing this, or should I do something that brings in consistent more money? Mm-hmm. And as a young adult, you realize, like, if I want consistency with funds, I need to go get me a job. So I go do that, and I'm spending time in that. I'm going to school at the time for my basics at Northlake. So I kind of just, like, completely forget about, creativeness, all this stuff like that. But, fast forward when it's like, okay, well, I kind of already have a knowledge of how things work because of that experience of me using my camera back then with the photography, maybe just shooting some videos or whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, now I need to invest in, learning a little bit more about videography when it comes to podcasting, because obviously I watch a lot of podcasts on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I start going through their older episodes where the production isn't as high, right? And I start trying to figure out, how did they get this angle? How did they get that angle? Oh, snap, they got a camera on a dolly that goes left and right.
Yeah, the slider. Mm-hmm. I want to get one so bad.
Yeah. So you start figuring out all these things, and then you get more like deep into it, and then you realize, like, no, I really got to put some more effort in this photography stuff, in this videography stuff, because a lot of people think that like videography is just, press record on your iPhone and shoot, right? But when you're shooting with quality cameras, you got to keep in mind like all these other factors that play into it. Like, obviously your ISO, your aperture, lenses, shutter speed, and export settings, dude. Everybody takes export settings for granted when it comes to content.
Mm-hmm. See, and I don't do anything crazy. Whatever the defaults are, I just run with it, right? To me, it's not that big of a deal. It's just going on social media. It's not going on TV. Well, some of it does, but those have different export settings. But the usual is like, who's going to tell you're watching it from your phone? Like, you can see the same quality. It's just, I don't know. I'm not that picky about it.
I think for me, I think to the untrained eye, you won't be able to tell. But once have your eyes trained to look at things a certain way, you can't really unsee it. Mm-hmm. But then again, it becomes a matter, for you in your case, it becomes a matter of convenience.
Yeah.
Like, because you understand that the average consumer isn't going to notice whether this shot that you took is a 4K or 1080p, because social media only lets you do 1080p unless you're on YouTube.
Exactly.
And the only reason why you would want to do 1080p anyways to put it on the only reason you want to do 4K anyways is to put it on a 1080p timeline, so you don't have to crop into it to fit that once you go vertical.
Yep, exactly. Just shoot 8K or 12K.
Oh, man.
Man, you ever shot 12K?
No.
I haven't either, but I've shot 6K. Files are ridiculous. 4K is the max I'll do. Man, even 2.8K is the max I would do. because 6K is it's too big.
So let me ask you a question. When it comes to 6K, what's how much time do you have for footage for like, let's say like 10 gigs?
I couldn't even tell you. That's how little I shoot in it. Like I did it one time, never again.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I had hard drives on hard drives on hard drives of just storage of these files. But I was shooting with the best settings. I was using, was it like constant bit rate, quality 0, which is the best one, and shooting like 4K or something. So I had like a terabyte every shoot we did. Now multiply that by all the cameras, that's too much memory. Do you know who Sean Michael Kelly is?
No.
He's a real big podcaster. He has like 10 million people. We shot, what was it, 6 or 12 episodes for him? I can't remember. I know it was over 2 days. And over that time, it was 8 terabytes for 1 day. It was just ridiculous.
How's that experience like, though? Like when it came to data transferring and whatnot?
The slowest because they use Google Drive.
Oh, my
I hate
God.
Google Drive.
What do you prefer? Because a lot of people are telling me, oh, you need to start using WeTransfer instead of Dropbox.
If you pay for WeTransfer, you can transfer up to 50 or 100 gigabytes, which isn't bad. But if you're filming at constant, then it doesn't really help you because that one file could be like 300 gigabytes easy. Mm-hmm. So you would either have to split it up or you would have to use, I was using Dropbox. Dropbox to me has been the best before I got my NAS. Now I just use my NAS, but at the time, Dropbox, I could send any file size.
Yeah, and the reason I like Dropbox, though, too, is because it's just ease of use, honestly. Even if they don't have Dropbox, they can still download their stuff, and you're not worried about being capped at 100 gigs.
But then the only problem that happens is, do they have enough memory to download it?
That's true. I mean, because they have to download it onto the computer or onto their phone. And then they're going to be like, oh, you ran out of storage space. Well, you better pay that $10 on iCloud to upgrade your stuff to a terabyte.
Man, you know that doesn't even do anything. It's only your online storage. So if your phone is just, say, 64 gigabytes, if you pay for a terabyte, it can only hold 64 gigabytes.
The phone.
Yeah, from the phone. So, like, paying for a terabyte does nothing.
But even if you were to just transfer it into your iCloud, sync it, then delete it off your phone?
I read somewhere that iPhone will delete it from your iCloud as well. For whatever reason, it's like mirrored, which makes no sense to me. You think that you could just offload it, delete, and then keep offloading, but no.
It almost makes you want to just pay an extra $10 a month for like Dropbox to have your own for your phone, or even invest in them like a NAS, because a lot of the times people walk around, I know I do, with like 4,000 photos on their phone.
Oh, those are baby numbers, 23,000.
You better start clearing that shit out, dude.
Like, it's not bad when you have a terabyte.
How often do you go through your phone and then get rid of all your like BTS photos?
Never.
Really?
Never. Because as being in the video production space, you never know when you can grab that footage and do something with it again. Like I'm making content now from back in January of this year. So if I would have deleted it, I wouldn't have it anymore.
I see. I don't know. For me, it's like if it's photos that I took in, like behind the scenes photos, or if they're reels, right? Because for me, when it comes to making reels for short form content, what I do is that I'll make like a no caption style reel, and then I'll make another copy with captions, right? Because you can put different style captions on there. You can do different edits with it, but it ends up being its own video after that.
Yeah.
So one blank video, then you do whatever you want to add different edits. Now you have 5 or 6 videos.
See, and then think about it. Later on in the year, you can go back to that same footage and do it all again. People have a very short attention span. They're not going to know that this was shot in January this year, January last year. They're just going to see new content. That's all that matters to them.
No, for sure. And I think it's kind of funny, right? Because I did an interview with Jeff Hardy at the beginning of the year, but then I did Eddie Guerrero's daughter, Sherilyn, about a month or 2 ago, and I dropped it, and I'm still getting likes on the reels and those, and I'm just like, okay, now some of these people are starting to follow the channel, some of these people are bots, but then I'm realizing, I'm like, I have my Matt and Jeff Hardy reel pin on top. Have they put 2 and 2 together to realize that I've also had Matt and Jeff Hardy, and then kind of like went to the YouTube, and then kind of 9 times out of 10 they don't, because of the whole short expansion. But you want to just make sure like they're able to know that.
Exactly. Let's talk about your podcast real quick. It sounds like you had some big names on there. I know you have, but tell the audience about that.
I mean, yeah, dude, like I really had some big names, man, and I don't like to brag, right? Because I'm not really a braggy kind of guy.
Do all the bragging right now. This is about you.
No, for sure, right? But I mean, like, honestly, dude, like, it's just kind of crazy because, again, it goes back to networking, man. Because if I don't meet David, that's my co-host, right? At the time. And I mean, I've been on a solo run for almost 2 years now, but I told him, I was like, whenever you're ready to get back into it, let me know. And until then, I got to keep the lights on, essentially speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't meet David, then I don't meet Brandon Medlock. Brandon Medlock's an actor who's on Tubi, and there's a whole. I don't know how much you know about the Dallas film industry.
Mm-hmm.
So they put movies together and they get put onto Tubi. So he's a real good actor, and through Brandon, we meet NFL wide receiver. He retired last season, right? He retired last season, but Amari Cooper, and that was kind of like the first superstar guest that we got. And it's so crazy because after Brandon was maybe our second or third guest when we started, and then he was like, "Yeah, bro, I can get you Amari Cooper, easy." I was like, "Dude, we're still shooting with iPhones." I was like, "Okay, cool, yeah, okay." So we circle back to it before that his last season starts when he was with the Browns, and then got traded halfway through the season to the Giants, right? So, and like it happens, right? And it's like, what the fuck? This actually happened. Like I grew up watching this guy on TV.
Yeah.
And then, from there, you start realizing people are like, damn, how'd you get him on? It's kind of like getting a unicorn on it. And I was like, that was cool for a minute. But then, fast forward, you start talking to people and meeting other people. Everyone's starting to, bat an eye towards you. And I'm like, yeah, I like what you're doing. Now I'm getting linked up with like Cap G. And then the crazy thing about it is that I got the bigger guests outside of having a co-host, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I've had Jay Cruz from K104 and all that with my co-host. But the bigger guests like the Concretes, the Matt Hardy, the Mike Santana, just to name a few, right? Edward Vasquez, right? Just people like that. You meet that because someone out there notices your work and it's like, yo, I like what you're doing. Can we work? Can we collaborate somehow? Like I said, whenever somebody asks me, how'd you get these people? The humble answer is networking.
Mm-hmm.
But the realistic answer is persistence. Like, if you're not out there working, figuring out who to collaborate with next and finding avenues for that to happen, whether it's directly or indirectly, right? Because when it came to the, doing Concrete, Jerry Garcia, and Duno, that happened because I was filming somebody else's podcast and they were back in town and they were like, yo, bro, we need a place to film. How much you charge? Yo, bro, I'll do it to you. I'll film yours if you come on mine. And it was one of the greatest opportunities I had because that's what helped me get monetized on YouTube.
Okay.
I'm not making hand over fist money or anything.
Well, like $10,000 a month? Nothing crazy?
Oh, no, dude. I haven't even hit $200 yet.
Man.
But I mean, to have the monetization status was something that I wanted to work for.
Yeah.
When I first started, I was like, I want to be monetized on YouTube.
Yeah.
At the time, it sounded cool, and it still is cool. I don't take it for granted. But needless to say, like networking and all these people that I've had on is why I've been able to continue to have more people on.
Yeah. Yeah. You're doing better than me. I'm still not monetized. I was once upon a time, but then when you stop using it, they demonetize you, and I haven't hit those numbers again.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, I think you figured out a way to monetize off of content without putting content online, right? Because you've turned content into your lifestyle. Because I think it's a lot easier for videographers who are in the music video scene to do it because they're producing something that's quote unquote entertaining, right?
Yeah.
Something that's going to get replayed every, because it's a 3-minute video, but if it's constantly getting played, I mean, what's 100,000 views to a music video? You're going to hit your watch time with that. At the very least. Subscribers, I don't know. I think with subscribers, that comes with YouTube Shorts. A lot of the times you notice the growth in subscriptions on YouTube is really just depending on how many shorts you put on there.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you this. Who has been your favorite person that you filmed so far?
When you say film, what
doing the podcast?
It's so hard to say because Smooth asks me that question all the time. Shout out to Smooth, by the way. But
I hate him. No, I'm messing with you.
But he asked me that question all the time. Hey, bro, who's your favorite interview? And I really don't know. I can't really tell you because in different eras of the inception of the whole podcast, I mean, there was always one that I really look forward to, and then we did that one, and then there was another one to look forward to. We did that one, and as you keep going, and as you keep getting the metaphorical carrot, it's like, okay, it's still a carrot, so we just keep moving. But at the beginning, it was this dude named Marcus, right? Because he was a real cool homie that we had back at work before he quit and started a 9-figure life insurance company. So he left working at QT to be a life insurance agent, but then he also ended up having his own field, his own practice and whatnot. And I was like, God damn, if I can get this guy to drop some knowledge, because back then it was very entrepreneurial based.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is the one I want to do. And it was funny because we did it, and after that, it was like, oh shit, the Amari Cooper one was the cool one, right? And then fast forward from there, and it's like none of them really felt like it was my favorite. But I don't know, man. It just really depends because you don't really have a favorite. I don't have a favorite. Some people say they have favorites, but there's reasons why I like certain ones of them.
Yeah.
I think that's something that somebody needs to be able to distinguish. Like, yo, not every podcast is going to be the best podcast or the best podcast experience, but there's a reason why you do each podcast, and it's because of these different things. Like if we go down the catalog, I can tell you why I like each episode and why people should watch each and every one of them. But to have a favorite, I think that's a little service level for me,
Gotcha. Yeah, like every shoot we do, as soon as it's over, like, oh, that's my favorite shoot ever. My wife and I will talk about it like that whole day, maybe the next day, but then we're on to the next one, and that one's like old to me now. So I guess I'm a little fickle. It's like every new shoot is my favorite. So it's kind of hard for me to pinpoint one for myself because it just feels like this was, like you said, this was cool, this was cool, this was cool. But yeah, but let me ask you this now. What has been the craziest shoot?
Man.
I know you've had some crazy experiences.
Yeah, for sure, right? Because look, check this, right? And in doing the podcast, right, there's this DJ named Accomplice. He's at K104. He invited me to go do set up. He like, oh yeah, bro, you trying to come do media at the Hideout Bar for this show that I got going on? I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever, right? So we end up doing that. I end up bringing my boys. I bring all the equipment, dude. Some people just take a mic and they're just like headphones. They're just mic. Hey, bro, what do you think about the show? This and that. And I'm just like, no, we found a little corner section. We set up a 3-camera setup, lighting. I'm bringing everything, dog. Yeah. I'm doing a mobile podcast, for real, dude. And that's the one I did Cap G at, right? But the thing is that I started getting all these, local, they're not even on the stage, dude. They're just dudes who are trickled in. Hey, bro, can I get an interview? Hey, can I get an interview? And at the time, I didn't know who else I was supposed to interview or not. People were just walking on by, saying, hey, can I get an interview? And we're like, yeah, sure. Man, dude, I tell you, being the only guy in charge of all the gear ruined that whole experience, dude. Because, and I made this fatal mistake, dude. I plugged in because I had clip mic. So I had clip mics on, and then I've also had my mics, my microphones on because I took the Rodecaster and 2 pod mics or whatever. But I clipped the audio. I clipped so I had the boom mic on the camera, but I into the headphone jack and not the mic jack.
Oh no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, I've made that mistake one time, but luckily I caught it in time.
I did that the whole time, and I'm like, yo, why don't I have any audio from the... I was like, surely I'm going to have some good audio with these, right? Because the Rodecaster did not help me at all because I didn't bring enough headphones for everybody just to be able to hear and just talk normally. And then I could have cut out the music, but I'm right next to the stage, dude, and it's just people singing, and we're just screaming into the mic. Yo, what's your favorite song? What just and it was the worst experience ever, dude. Man. I learned a lot from it though, man. I learned that if you're gonna be doing media like that, you don't need to take a lot of gear. If it's something like that, one camera is fine, because at the end of the day, you can just go from left to right when you want to crop vertical videos, and that worked out fine. But that's honestly the craziest one, because I maybe did like 10 interviews. I didn't even drop. The only one I dropped was the Cap G one, because he was a headliner of the night.
Yeah. I mean, you could look into a 360 camera, put it right between them, and just bounce back and left and right. But that's just a thought. I've thought about it just to make it as minimal as possible, but I don't have a 360 camera yet.
Yeah, neither do I.
It's next on my list to buy. But yeah, okay, so let me ask you this now. Why podcasting specifically? Like, how did you decide to talk about the topics that you talk about?
Well, see, here's the thing, right? Because originally when it came to starting a podcast, I was very interested in like Patrick Bet-David, Valuetainment, their podcasting, and like these people are over here talking about other things that most people aren't talking about. I mean, you can talk about political views and whatnot, right? But the fact of the matter is that these guys are talking about interesting subjects, whether it's in politics, money, you name it, right? Then you start seeing other podcasts that you're falling in love with, and you're like, I'm a fan of this podcast, I'm a fan of this podcast. And it's like, I have the space. This is something I want to do, because I don't know what else I'm going to do. Because it goes back to that whole buying a house at 24. Like, I was programmed like I needed to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that space. And once I hit that goal relatively early, it was like, okay, what else? But the reason, I talk about the things I talk about on my podcast is because I use this as a learning opportunity, really. A lot of the times that the people that I bring on, you can record for about an hour with these people, share their story and whatnot, but they're dropping gems along the way that somehow I learned to apply in my life. And honestly, bro, like if you want a really cookie cutter answer, outside of the Quick Trip community, I didn't really have any friends, dude. I didn't
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah,
no, I have friends now, but I get it.
You have friends because of the spaces that you're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my only like quote unquote space was the people that I worked at QT, and it was like, okay, but like I don't want to be here forever. I don't want to just talk to the people that I talk to at my store and then maybe one homeboy or whatever. Like, I need to develop a community around me. That's kind of how I like podcasting. And the thing about it is that when you start podcasting, you start talking to all different individuals from all walks of life. But the thing they don't tell you about podcasting is that it's going to change you. You're not going to be the same person you were when you started, right? Because you're going to take all of these ideals that everybody has and figure out a way to apply them into your life. You're going to be hearing things that you've never really thought of, but you're like, damn, that's a good idea. Damn, that shit sounds good. Why? Because as a host, for lack of a better word, you're forced to listen to the person across.
I haven't been listening at all. No, I'm joking.
But, you're forced to listen to the person across because at the end of the day, you can't have a meaningful conversation if you're not engaged in the conversation. It's completely different from having you and your significant other sitting on the couch and you're on your phone and she's talking. You're like, yes, honey. Yes, honey. So you just develop into a whole different being.
All right. So what sacrifices have you had to make due to podcasting?
Dude, I'll tell you the easiest sacrifice that I have to make during podcasting, right? Because a lot of people, see the stuff on social media, but they don't realize like you have to take time off from your 9 to 5 to make it happen. And the sad reality is that podcasting doesn't pay me what I get paid for my 9 to 5. So when I do take time off, it's like, oh no, bro, like, hey, we got to film this day. We got to film this day. It conflicts with my work schedule. And if I break down the numbers to you, dude, if I take off one day from work with the numbers that I'm making on the front end and the back end, I'm losing at least $500 to $600 in that one day. Because a lot of people don't know, like the way our pay structure is, right? We get an hourly pay, obviously, right? And then you get like stuff added on the back end on your 401k. And if you take off a certain amount of days, you're putting less into it because now you're putting less from your pay package into your 401k. Not to mention that we have a bonus system about attendance and, if you miss 3 days within a 4-month period, then you're disqualified for that quarter. Dang. But if you miss 10 days within a rolling year, then you're disqualified for the bonuses. And those bonuses are pretty substantial. So each day that you take off, your bonuses get lower and lower. So I'm not just missing 9 hours worth of work. You know what I mean? Gotcha. So a lot of the times it's that, right? But I mean, I don't know, man. I think that's one of the biggest things, right? Because, everyone thinks because you have all this equipment, you're making money, and it's like, it's not really true. You're actually spending more money on the stuff to be able to continue the ball rolling.
Yeah, I stay in debt. My bank account's like negative 20K.
Good thing you have life insurance, man. That shit's gonna go whoop.
Man, no kidding.
But aside from that, dude, honestly, it's time with your family, right? Because if you don't, a lot of people, back to the whole miss and work for podcasting, I'm also missing time because I don't have an editor. I'm not filming my own stuff. When it comes to doing on-site, like on location shoots, I'm lugging up I'm loading up the luggage. I'm dropping it off. I'm setting everything up, packing it up, bringing it back up, set it back up into the home studio, right? Because the whole point of having a home studio was not to have to do this.
Exactly.
So then you lose time, and it's not like, I lose a lot of time with my family because most of the time I'm podcasting at home, but the majority of the loss in time comes with, I got to be in the chair editing, and you as an editor are stuck in the chair after I've already have filmed, and now you're like, okay, cool, now I got to make short form content, and this is how I got to advertise. So you're in the chair longer because you're not only piecing apart a long form episode, now you're making shorts.
It's exactly what you said. Like, people think you just push a button, record it, and then you're done. No, you still have to take it. You have to offload it. You have to edit it. You have to distribute it if that's part of your plan for them. It's so much work that you really have to put into this. And like, over the last 2-3 days, we've had 2 weeks off from traveling out of state. So over the last 2 weeks, I've been working on our own personal projects. And it's like, man, I forgot how much went into this for something that we're not even really going to get paid for, at least right now. It's like, it's a lot. It really is.
No, for sure, right? And that's one thing, that's one gripe that I have with clients, right? And they're just people that you work with in general, when it's like, oh yeah, bro, like, you can just shoot it. You can just shoot it. Just shoot it. Yeah, bro. Yeah, let me know when the file's ready. I was like, yo, hey, is it ready yet? Hey, do you have that recording yet? Do you have those shorts? Yo, bro, I still got to do my own shit. But then I also got to make sure your shit comes out good too. But then I also want to have time for other projects I got going on. Because, like, I got that 75 Corvette. Like, I should have been sanded that down and at least primed it by now to take it off to make and get it painted. But, content comes first.
Like, we've had this personal project of mine, just a podcast I shot with another dude. That one we filmed in January, and I'm barely about to release it. That's how busy we've been. Because, like, with client work, it's like, well, do you want to get paid or do you want to pursue your passion project and stuff? So, yeah, passion has to take a backseat to paid client work for me, at least.
No, that's totally true, right? Because whenever, I've right now I'm on aside from open discussions, right? Because open discussions and direct discussions are two different podcast platforms under the same umbrella, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So open discussions was the live stream one that we did a separate playlist for, and direct discussions was the one I liked more, right? That's the one I'm more hands-on with, side, like with content and whatnot. But aside from those two, right, I've also produced Jesus Casillo's podcast, Let Me Tell You Something. We maybe did about 10 or 11 episodes of that. We set up a whole setup at his house, and then, I would have to go over there, film it, and then take the footage, edit the footage. So it's things like that, right? Going to somebody else's place. Granted, he had a cool setup for what it was, but again, it goes back to time because now you're having to leave your house, leave your family to go film, produce other people's content, and then you start to weigh out your options, right? And then, who else did I do? I did Jesus's, I did Luis Juarez's one for a while because he would just come, film, and then, he just stopped asking me, hey, bro, can I use the space? Can I use the space? I was like, all right. He stopped asking, so I was like, okay. I guess he's starting to see, like, it's going to cost a lot more than what he's paying to use the space because, as you said in a previous episode, I'm the motherfucker that's putting y'all guys out of business, right?
Yeah, exactly.
With the $50 shoots.
Yeah, so real quick, like, we made a joke about that. Just let's tell the audience about this. So I'm talking about, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Something about a shoot, like probably how much we charge for.
Yeah.
And then you come in like, yeah, we did this, and that, and I only charged like $100. Like, yeah, so you're the dude putting us out of business. But yeah.
But no, but again, you start to figure out in the podcasting world, like, who you want to align with, right? And necessarily, because in DFW, The way I see the DFW podcasting community, it's heavily underdeveloped, and there's only a few key players in the Metroplex, right? But they stick to the respective niches, right? And me, I'm trying to emerge into this space where upper echelon talent can come in. I'm not necessarily talking about Hollywood A-list. They're just people with credibility, notoriety can come, promote something, do a media run, and have content out the way because I've proven that I do quality work. I put the person I have on my chair first when it comes to their image, their branding. I'm not gonna ask them like the dirt cheap questions or like the real cheap heat ones. I'm not gonna ask them that. Like it's supposed to be an experience, you know. And I kind of put that first, and that kind of reputation has followed me around. And it's like, okay, cool, you know, this is a guy I can go do a podcast with because he's gonna like put my brand first aside from his. Because a lot of the times I notice from the podcasting community in the Metroplex. And I don't blame them, right? Because everybody has different things they got going on, right? Whether it's life, family, kids, maybe they just lose a drive or whatnot. But they lack consistency, right? It's not a knock on anybody because, like we talked about it, sometimes you got to put that passion project aside if you can't juggle both at once. But I feel like the Dallas-Fort Worth podcast community is less consistent than they should be if we're going to be like LA.
I never thought about it like that. A homie of mine, he does podcasts all the time. So I've only had experience with him who he has like a big studio. People are constantly coming in and out. It's kind of like the circles that I'm involved in. Like if you're around people doing big things, all you see is big things. If you're around people who don't really do big things, you know, they're like, oh, there's no money in this. And, you know, touching on that real quick, I hate when people say that. It's like, oh, there's no money in personal training. There's no money in podcasting. There's no money in whatever, right? It's like, no, there is money. You just didn't make money in it. Like, I don't know. That's always been a pet peeve of mine.
No, I completely understand, right? Because I'm not an idiot. You know, I could be making more money off of podcasting than someone else would, right? But the way I see it is that am I going to sacrifice my integrity for $1? You know what I mean? And the reason I say that too is because I have so many people hitting me left and right that want to come on the platform and then they want to throw some money like, here's take $100 and let me bring you on the podcast. I was like, bro, if I don't find your story compelling enough for me to even want to share it with the people who took the time to even subscribe, follow, like, and comment and all that stuff, it's like, then I'm devaluing my platform. And I'm not there yet. Maybe when I'm unemployed and I need to make a quick buck or something, or maybe when I decide to change the model around. I mean, because I'm not oblivious to something happening where this could turn into a stream of income if need be, right? But at this time, I'm not just gonna take somebody giving me $100 because they want to come on the podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So random question. What would you have to make in one day, like every day or 5 times a week, for you to leave your full time? Have you ever run those numbers?
I can tell you right now, like if I were to leave my full-time job to do anything else, it would have to be at least 95.
A day?
No, 95 a year.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 95 a day. I mean, that's very reasonable. Okay.
At least 95 a year.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and the reason I have to break that down too is because the whole reason you have to leave. Oh, I'm like, which one is it on? Oh, it's on the wide one.
Yeah, it's on the wide.
Oh yeah, no. But the reason I break down the whole 95, 95K a year is because I get paid pretty well doing what I do, right? But not to mention the money that I make on the back end when it comes to having 401k and then having my insurance, my health insurance paid for. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times, and it's funny because I'll share this story with the audience real quick about what we had when we talked when we were like, oh yeah, so. I was telling you about my situation where like I'm stuck at a job where I'm making really, really good money, and I kind of told you about it, and you're like, dang, bro, yeah, just stay there.
Yeah, no kidding. Like if you're making that kind of money, like I don't tell everyone like to stay at that job because I always push like, hey, start your own business, do your own thing, become an entrepreneur. But when you told me how much you're making and like it's easy, like why do you want to leave that? Just do podcasting on the side until it starts equaling out. And then go and pursue it.
No, for sure, right? And I think the reality of it all goes back to redundancy, like I've been doing it for like 10 plus years already, and it's like, dude, this isn't where I'm supposed to retire. And then you start questioning yourself, like, am I supposed to be doing more with my life? Like, and then you figure out a different lane that you're excited about and that you want to pursue, but then, it's not as consistent, but then you start having a family, and then consistency matters a little bit more than, what you want to do in terms of, how you want to approach your finances and whatnot. Because maybe if I didn't have any kids, I'd be okay with like saying, yeah, I'll figure out where the next check comes in instead of having a consistent source of income to keep the lights on, food in the fridge and all that. So it's a little give and take.
Yeah. Like I've told you before that we've had some really, really good months, and then we've had some terrible months. So thankfully we don't have kids yet, so we don't really have to worry about that. But when we do, I know it's going to be like, no, I need to have like more consistent income, which is what we're building toward too.
No, for sure. And for you, for people in your space, I have a question, right? Because we live in a society where people put the family second and focus on themselves first, right? But for you in this space of entrepreneurship, where you're having a gig, for a living, so to speak, what is it going to take for you to be able to say, okay, now I'm ready to start a family? If that's even in the books. I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we could start a family now, but I want just a little, well, it's going to sound selfish, but I want to finish buying a few more things, right? Like, a couple more cameras, a couple more just products and stuff like that. And then I feel like I'll be happy enough to like, okay, this is all paid off. This is what I have. Nothing will pop up that we're going to need to buy, like maybe like additional mics, but those are cheaper. So it's just, once I have everything that I feel like we need, that we will need for a shoot, then yes, then we can start a family.
I think the one flaw I see to that argument, right, is that it's a great plan. It's a great plan, but everybody who says that they want a kid and they start a family, there's never really a right time, right? I know for me, like, I get a lot of pat on the backs because I have custody of my daughter from her mom, and I take care of her. She lives with me. She's been living with me practically all her life, right? But I get a lot of pats on the back, but I wasn't ready to be a dad when I was 19, 20. Yeah. No, wait, I was, yeah, I was 20. No. She's 9 this year. Yeah, I don't remember. I was like 19, 20 when I had my daughter, right? But needless to say, nobody's ever ready for a kid, and you just kind of roll with the punches and then keep the ball rolling, So I had that discussion with my fiance where it's like, when are we ready to have a kid? And she's like, oh, it's 25. Now she's 27 now. And it's like, I mean, like at the beginning, I was like, oh, no kids for me. I'm cool with just one. But now I'm more open to it because it's like, well, we've already, like, we have something good going here. It's consistent. We've been together for a while. We're engaged. I was like, I mean, if you want, let's do it. If not, I mean, hey, let's hold off a year or two. But yeah, there's never really a good time to have a kid. It's just whether you're going to be ready or you're not going to be ready. And if you're not ready to have a kid, you're going to be ready by the time the kid comes. Yeah. And there's a few other things I want to say is like, we still want to travel like for us, for fun and all that. But really what stops me is that growing up, we grew up very, very poor. Like, I don't think I told you about that, but we grew up extremely poor. And it was so bad that we didn't even have food to eat. It was like we didn't have electricity. We were staying behind my dad's friend's house, kind of like a shed or something like that, running power from the main house to the back. And sometimes that power would get cut off. We had to use candles. The food in the fridge would go bad. So, it was bad growing up. And having all that experience makes me not want to have a kid and put them through that. I'm not saying we are going to live like that at all, but it's those experiences, like I just need to make a little bit more to be sure that my child will have enough to get by. Like, we don't have to worry about all that. No. I totally agree, right? Because, I grew up poor too. Like, I'm not trying to have who's poor when you were a kid. I mean, that's neither here or there. But I'm not, needless to say, like, I totally get where you're coming from, right? Because my dad has all these kids, right? With my stepmom, he has like 4 or 5, and I remember seeing how they grew up, and they didn't grow up poor, but I mean, my dad did, they kept the house all roof and whatever, right? It was stable, but I just look at it and I'm just like, Imagine if they had less kids, how many more opportunities they would have had if they didn't have to split the opportunities and the financial stress among 4 to 5 kids.
Yeah. Plus, more kids, more chances of them getting rich. No.
Yeah, and then you're stuck driving either a Sprinter or a Suburban for the rest of your life.
Exactly. But all right, so before we get out of here, what advice do you have for people that want to do podcasting?
You know, the biggest thing that I can tell people who want to get into podcasting is not necessarily just to do it, right? Because you have to do it with a certain level of intention. Like, you have to know what you want to do in this space. Do you want to interview? Do you want to do commentary? And if so, lock in on that. Everyone says niche down, but it's not necessarily niche down. It's to figure out what you want to do, what style, because you can do a talk show with just you and your homie and y'all talk about the most randomest things ever. But if those random things don't align with what people are looking forward to seeing on social media, your thing isn't gonna do good. If you're looking to be a personality, like, you know, just everybody thinks being a podcaster is about being an influencer, and it's really not. It's being able to tell somebody's story. You know, if you're doing guest interviews, right? Or at the end of the day, it comes down to compelling storytelling. Whether it's, you know, two homies sitting on the couch and then they're just talking about whatever, right? Or it's just somebody interviewing somebody. Like, when it comes to interviews, you have to think of yourself as a journalist. Like, you can tell good stories to the people that you have on, but if you're not looking to build your credibility based on who you have on, then you're not going to move in the direction that you think you're going to move into. Because, and it goes back to the people who have podcasts that I've seen all across social media within the Metroplex. The quality's not there. The storytelling isn't there for most of them. Some people are too worried about trying to be the brand on a show where they host guests. And then some people just think that they're going to get by setting a camera on their kitchen table and just talking about whatever they want to talk about, which is cool because, I mean, I feel like somebody will gravitate to that. But if you're looking at it from a macro level, you're looking about analytics and what's being trendy. Like, imagine somebody doing a podcast about, you know, the latest season of Dancing with the Stars, for example. The finale was a month ago. You think people are going to care about anything you have to say within? That's what it comes to commentary, because I see a lot of people do commentary style podcasts, and that's what, you know, it's not time based. Like, why are we talking about the Super Bowl in the middle of July?
Yeah. Roger, where can people find you at?
You can find me everywhere. You can find me everywhere on the internet. You can Direct Discussions Podcast on Instagram, Open Discussions Podcast on Instagram. I manage that, but, you know, hit me up on Direct Discussions Podcast on Instagram. YouTube is Open and Direct Discussions Podcast. TikTok, ODDD, that's 3Ds podcast. But yeah, honestly, man, like, don't check the Facebook. The email's and everything. So if you really want to get in contact with me, go ahead and just email me at odddmediagroup@gmail.com. But I'm more active on every other platform except Facebook.
Which is kind of funny because we met through Facebook, and you're a big marketplace guy.
I'm a big marketplace guy, but the actual podcast page, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say before we wrap up, another piece of advice I would give somebody when it comes to podcasting is obviously invest in some quality equipment. You don't have to get the top of the line 6K Black Magic cameras like my good friend here does, but you know, at least have something that you can provide quality short form content. And if nothing else, if you're not planning to make long form content, use your content for short form content. I know so many podcasts who are just clip based. All they do are just clip. No long form. And that's always the easiest way to go.
Yeah, definitely agree. But Roger, I really appreciate you taking the time to drive out here again. This is like your second time here, so I really do appreciate that. And when will our episode be dropping for you?
Oh man, I anticipate on dropping it either this week or next week. This week is a little too, I don't know, because I still got to finish like Smooth's 3 things back to passion versus, you know, paid projects, you know.
Well, why is it not done yet? It should have been done Tuesday.
It should have been done Tuesday. Yeah, it should have, right? I don't know. It's because like we filmed like 2 other ones, and he wants to like, oh, we need clips for these. We need
Mm-hmm.
clips for these. Okay, but chill. I got you. I got you. Relax. And then after sitting on the desk for so long, you want to go to the lake, or you want to go sit outside, or you're trying to go get something to eat, and you get back,
Okay.
and then you realize that the task at hand is to not only create a thing. Here's the thing, and I'm sure you're aware of this, right? But when it comes to podcasting, if you don't have an automated setup to film your podcasting, you're not only editing your podcasting, you're checking your audio levels in post, you're exporting, you're making a thumbnail, you're coming up with a description, you're coming up with, which parts you want to do shorts for, because those shorts, in the grand scheme of things, those shorts serve as an ad for your long form video, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you post it on social media or not. Like somebody can look at a 10-minute, like a 10-second short and be like, "Oh, nigga, 100,000 views," but your long form can only have like 60.
Yep.
But when you look at conversion rates, I mean, like you got something out of that. You got somebody to go from the short form to the long form, so that's all that really matters. So then you got to do that. You got to figure out what do you want to clip up, and if you only want to do 3 or if you want to do 5. I'm a quality kind of guy, but at the beginning I was very quantity, right? And it's cool to be quantity as long as they're all good quality, right? So once you say, okay, maybe 5 to 6 shorts that I'm going to use on all platforms, then you're ready to go.
Yep.
Because I don't like dropping an episode unless I have shorts ready to go.
See, and I'm kind of the opposite. I'll drop the episode, and then when I have time, I'll start making shorts out of it. It's just, I know my time is very, very limited, so it's like I have to get it out as fast as I can, or
No. Here's the thing, right? Because if you like for smaller creators, right? If you're not hitting the algorithm with short form content to drive traffic to your long form content within that first week, you're already losing. The CTR ratio is going from, because they'll give you a 10% CTR ratio as soon as you drop it, but if you don't have anything to carry that click through ratio is going to go straight down, and it's going to be harder for people to find your stuff unless you tell them to find your stuff. So
Yeah.
the reason why I have the short form content going out heavily in that first week is because I know for a fact that the more I get the word out for those pieces of short form content, the more likely I'll have to keep that CTR pretty high. And, generally speaking, for podcasting content, a 3%, 3 to 4% CTR, that's that click through ratio. That's kind of where you want to be at long term.
Okay, one last question. How many shorts are you dropping per podcast?
At the beginning, it started off like every other podcaster where I'm going to run this shit through Opus and drop 20, 30 clips, right? But then you start to realize, like, you don't need to do that many per se, right? You just need to figure out the good pieces, and whether I like to aim for 5 to 6 per episode, right? Unless it's like some real hard body shit that you want people to know, right? But the way I look at it is that, let's go 5 pieces of content from a podcast. You post 5 on TikTok, you post those 5 on YouTube, you post those 5 on Instagram, you post those
Is
5.
it always the same 5, or do you make like different 5 for each platform?
It's always the same, but generally speaking, I used to follow this rule where a 9-second clip is going to get maximal retention rate because it's a 9-second clip. You don't realize 9 seconds have gone by. A 20-second clip is pushing it. A 20-second clip, if it's a good clip, people will stick around until the 15-second mark. But the 30-second clip, then you start treading in the whole territory of, are they gonna watch this all the way? Because percentages matter when it comes to retention rate.
Mm-hmm.
And an 80% retention on a 10-second clip is 8 seconds, right? But when you look at a 30-second clip, what's an 80% retention rate? It's a lot longer than 8 seconds, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But people are still gonna look at it and just be like, well, the algorithm itself are gonna look at it and be like, oh, well, this isn't a good video because it was too long and they didn't stick around for too long.
Yeah, it's just crazy how content has changed over the years. When I started back in 2012, if it was a 3-minute video, people felt like it was kind of short. So like 5 to 10 was kind of the sweet spot in long form content.
Yeah.
Nowadays, 45 minutes plus for like podcasts and stuff like that. But what I'm getting at is the short form content, the shorter the better. So I thought 1 minute was kind of like the max, and then people were saying 30 seconds, now 15 seconds, now 9 seconds. It's just, it's just crazy.
No, see, here's the thing, right? Because if you want to use audio in your short form content, it has to be below a minute. Because if it's not below a minute, then you can't use those musics because there's licensings and stuff like that on social media. So if you want to use music on your reels, it has to be below a minute. Granted, you can use something like, like Epidemic Sound, and then link your accounts to it. Then now you can have licensed royalty-free music onto your longer form content, because YouTube allows you to do up to 3-minute shorts. Should you do a 3-minute short? I don't think so. I wouldn't do a 3-minute short, but you do have the ability to. And as long as you use something like Epidemic Sound, where you can sync up your account, now you have music available to you. But that's one thing I try to tell people when it comes to short form content. It has to be below a minute. Your sweet spot is at 20 to 30 second reel. 45 is really pushing it. If it's a really good story, then it'll work, right? But generally speaking, 20 to 30 seconds is where most people should feel comfortable with that.
I'm going to have to redo my shorts. But all right, man, really appreciate you having on. We're going to go ahead and wrap up, but appreciate you coming through.
Alrighty.
So let me
appreciate your time, man. Thank you for having me. And this is definitely an experience. And if you made it this far, please hit up SwoleNerd Productions and book this studio, because, man, it definitely a bang for your buck. I tell you what, I'm looking at the wall of fame, the carpets, the lighting, the soundproofing. This is right here. You heard it first.
I really appreciate that. That's a wrap for this episode of Behind the Scenes. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. To learn more about SwoleNerd Productions or to see our latest work, visit SwoleNerdProductions.com. I'm Vince G, and I'll see you behind the scenes.